Journeys Ahead 2 Lineage Chapter 12 Secrets and Lies Part 2. Written and narrated by T.S. ProArt. One by one, each spark exited the golden shining portal and landed upon a cold marble surface. As their boots made impact upon the stone, an audible echo carried itself forward upon a sight that left everyone standing still. This reality, this unknown plane that the map could barely read, was something straight from old legends and tales all the sparks had heard as mere children. The world before them was a fantasy-akin landscape that was as if ancient Greek architecture and mythology were mixed heavily with super advanced technology. A majestic mountain with a sun-haloed peak formed the centerpiece in the distance. Buildings resembling ancient temples were scattered across the mountain slopes and hills, all glowing with a mix of both white and black energy. Waterfalls and fountains flowed from the temples with a gentle stream meandering through a valley that descended below. The sky above them was a blend of warm, peachy orange and pale hues, suggestive of either a sunrise or sunset. None of the sparks were truly able to tell. Fluffy, soft clouds surrounded the nearby land formations, adding depth and atmosphere to the scene before them all. Glowing, almost translucent birds were visible in flight against the colorful sky, enhancing the state of disbelief they all felt. Before the group sat a paved area, a terrace or pathway, looking to lead up towards a giant, towering structure from afar. A building so large that it looked almost impossible to have existed at all. Oh my. Void gasped as he took one step forwards towards the scene, feeling an immeasurable amount of peace within his heart. Where are we? Joby asked as everyone looked around at the enticing beauty. I believe we are at... Sika started to speak before Cogson finally said it. The Soleus. Spark Heaven. For a long time, everyone remained quiet, just admiring the beauty of the dimension, feeling the warmth, smelling the peace, until Joby spoke up again. What's the Soleus? Snapping out of their trances, everyone first looked down to the kid and then at Cogson, who began to follow Matira's signal. Quietly, the large group of sparks began to follow as well, while Kor spoke aloud. This is where we go when we die, my child. It is the birthplace of the sparks, a realm that we aren't supposed to be stepping foot into yet. The older Novason explained with an audible sense of worry in his voice.
This is sacred ground. We shouldn't be here.
Evelyn whispered as a growing sense of unease began to swell in everyone's hearts. I need a cigarette. Alice grumbled as he lit a match to his lips. Should we go back? Lee asked while starting to shake mid-stride. Upon noticing this, Void reached out and held his fellow Spark's arm, providing some comfort to her in that moment. No, her signal is still faint. We must trudge forwards. She could be hurt. Mr. Cogson reinstated with a sense of bravery to his voice that seemed to inspire the others. Without wasting a second, he charged his wheel and rolled ahead, leaving the group to follow him into their mythological lands. I can't believe we're here. The old stories tell of how Matira and the Sparkborn gods created this place. Their will to make, their compassion to help those in need. It's so enticing. Harmony said, as her, Void, and Lee walked side by side, admiring the beauty of their true home. And scary, Lee added as she hauled herself in the Void's side to his surprise. Hey, it's gonna be okay, Lee. We're all together. We'll find Matira and get back and get this show on the road. The Blue Spark assured as he held his old friend close mid-stride. How have you been, by the way? I was hoping to hunt a conductor with you. Void asked his friend, who looked up with glimmering yellow eyes. Oh, definitely better than I was before. Can't really say much as you know the gist. I'm just happy to know you made it out. Congrats on the kid, by the way. Lee replied as her little wings made a fluttering motion. Thanks. The B attributes come from your Sparkborn gift? Void asked as he eyed down Lee's larger stinger extension and wings. Yeah, pretty cool, right? She asked, making them both slightly chuckle. Are you two seriously catching up now? We're literally walking upon sacred grounds. Harmony asked with a toss-up in her hands, making the old duo look back at her. Oh, we've barely gotten to talk, Harmy. Cut us some slack. The bumblebee-looking spark replied, while the older ones led the way.
It's a bit quiet. I don't like it.
Evelyn mentioned that everyone's agreement, as they all now walked over a bridge that rested above a lake of light matter. The stories always spoke of angels and higher beings roaming the skies of the Soleus. So can someone explain to me why heaven suddenly looks so barren? Sika questioned while staying close to Kor, who was still holding on to Joby. I don't know. I wasn't the best when it came to history. Kor? Alice reasoned, leaving the older Noson to simply shrug. I was a science teacher, not a history buff. But I agree. Something isn't right. As they passed the bridge, the group found themselves before a large series of stairs, structures, and statues. To take the stairs would have only meant hours worth of climbing, but it appeared that Matira's signal was coming from the very top of the largest structure within the Soleus. Look at the statues, guys. All the gods are creators. Void whispered in amazement as he eyed down all of the gigantic beings that loomed over them in a chiseled stone. Seraphim, Darfion, Rivara, Sabrath, Vetrix, Rhodos, Elbrus, and Flora. It's all of them. Void said as he admired their beauty. I'm curious, have you guys met the other gods at all? Void then asked, while Cogson looked to be readying another portal. No, only Matira. She claims her kin to have been busy here. Kor replied as he set Joby down upon the ground. You think we'll be meeting them? She asked, to the still visibly uneasy sparks. I don't know. Kor honestly replied, as Cogson activated another portal. Her signal is up at the very top of the structure. Come on! The old-timer shouted as he quickly rolled forwards. Cogson, wait! Kor bellowed as he and the other sparks quickly followed. He's losing it, ain't he? Lee asked as she ran with Void latched around her arm. It's not old age, it's just how he is. Seeger replied as one by one they entered, going from the world below to the highest peak within the Soleus. Emerging through into a cloudy atmosphere, Void nearly felt himself throw up from just how high they all were. The rest of the Soleus below now looked like a children's playset that was constantly being covered up by moving clouds and flying birds. Oh, Jesus! He nauseously said, leaving poor Lee to stabilize him. I got you, buddy. Don't worry. She assured, as all the sparks stared up and upon a massive barricaded door. The structure was built into an arch shape, leading to the building's uppermost floor. The top was designed in a golden pyramid spire, chiseled with pulsating runes of spark text and unknown hieroglyphics. It was truly a sight to behold, with Matira's readings being tracked from right behind the very entrance. Marching forwards, Kor pushed against the massive steel plates, finding them to not move an inch. They're locked, he gruffed to everyone's dismay. Allow me. Harmony said with a smirk, as she suddenly ignited her body into a pink glow, revealing her spark-born essence for all to see. With a twirling spin, the pop star of a spark suddenly unleashed physical burning music notes, blasting out of her body speakers. As they struck the door, the giant wall of inscribed history was broken away from its hinges, shattering apart into the other side in 1,000 little pieces. Booyah! Harmony cheered as everyone slowly made their way inside. From the door's destruction, a flurry of dust and smoke filled the air, leaving everyone unable to see upon entrance. "Lady Matira, where are you?" Cor called with a nervous tone. "My lady, are you all right? You've been missing for over a day." Mr. Cogson then asked, as everyone tried to clear out the dust. "Matira, where are you?" Void asked aloud, though he and Lee stopped upon something in their path. An audible creak erupted from under his boot, to which the two sparks looked down. One moment passed, then another, till at last, it came into view. What the sparks saw was a face. An empty, lifeless metal face. Ah! Together, both Void and Lee screamed in unison as the empty face silently screamed back, with no noise. Quietly running over, all the sparks came to see what the problem was, before suddenly stopping in horror to what was below. "What the?" Cor gasped out, for as the rest of the dust cleared, it became apparent to what they were looking at. The figure that was passed away was about as large as Cor. It was a feminine being, with multiple limbs emanating from its core structure. From out of the back of her scalp were thin, white tendrils that looked segmented and intertwined. Each limb seemed extinguished, looking to once hold a small, glowing light blue flame within. The central body of this passed-away soul was a dark bluish-gray color with metallic-looking details, added on by shades of gold and darker grays. Her face had been partially obscured by a helmet-like plate that had ornate details and horns projecting from the top of her head. The being's body structure was complex, to say the least, showcasing a variety of shapes and armored plating. In that moment of intensity, Void suddenly gasped and knelt down, proceeding to gently press his hand upon the figure's face. Upon doing so, he wiped away a glob of mud that was left behind by his boot, and gently spoke the name of who he was looking at. Lady Ravara. A matter goddess, a granddaughter of Matira, dead, looking to have been stabbed right through her heart. "What? I don't believe it," Cogson whispered with dismay as the entire group of sparks were left shell-shocked at their findings. Guys? Joby then whimpered, making the group look up from Ravara, only to be greeted by a massacre. The sector of the building they had entered was some kind of throne room of the gods, which now looked like a slaughterhouse. To the far left rested a being whose body was predominantly a yellowish-orange hue, reminiscent of autumn leaves or ripe fruit. Her limbs resembled tree roots and branches, being reddish-brown with small light blue flowers decorating them. Her torso and upper body were covered in a complex, segmented mechanical build, interwoven with tree-like elements. Her head had antler-akin branches growing out of it in a stylized, organic, and slightly wild manner, creating an almost halo-like feature around her head. This was the spark-born goddess Leflora, and she was in two pieces upon the ground. Beside her in a heap of chunks was Leflora's sibling. His body and appendages were encased in dark gray, almost black-like armor structures, suggestive of either metal or stone. His form appeared to have once been imbued with flames, fire that now fizzled out. The god had 3 heads, all large, pointed with horns that were darker shades of gray. Parts of their heads looked to have burned at one point in time, but now they were extinguished. He, or rather they, once the matter god, Elbrus, the eternal flame no longer. The next crime scene was of a large, biomechanical squid or octopus. Its body and tentacles were a light binged cream color, with intricate, detailed line work in its panel lines, suggesting a mix of mechanical or rather organic power. The tentacles were thick and had a segmented, braided appearance. Small green tubes and tendrils sprouted from various parts of the god that no longer shine bright. The creature's head, or rather face, was in the center of its body. It was an armored shape with sections of the same binge cream white coloring. This was once the mighty god Sabrath, the divine tinkerer, whose entire body looked to be snapped in two. What the? Sika whispered in horror as they all gazed at the others. The next deceased god was a spark. His body was a mix of metallic armor, appearing in shades of gray, silver, and muted golds. He had visible rivet joints and seams. But the most important feature was that the god's legs were elongated, unique-like with segmented armor coverings. It reminded everyone of a centaur, but more importantly, they knew who it was. Rhodos, Alice said as he eyed down his own oddly shaped body. Next to Rhodos, with her infamous spear stabbed right through her heart, was the goddess Darfian. Her red and purple segmented body looked burnt. Her horns appeared shattered, while her lower half was completely missing. As for the last goddess, Vetrix, her pink and purple parts were scattered everywhere. Oh God. Oh God. Lee gasped with a hand to her mouth as she began to crumble under her knees.
What happened?
Evelyn shouted in a pure state of horror as everyone tried to process what they were seeing. The Sparkborns, they're... Harmony whispered, when all of a sudden, the last supposed corpse spoke up.
Who goes there?
Snapping their heads around, all the sparks activated their weapons as they eyed one of the thrones down. There, barely alive with several stab wounds in his body, was yet another Sparkborn. He was humanoid, but with distinct, elongated features and armor-like plating. His limbs were bony and angular, ending with claw-like hands. His body was covered in segmented, geometric armor pieces in shades of cream too, as well as light golds, interspersed with bands of vibrant blue. He had prominent, elongated, horn-like proportions emerging from the top of his head, which was a mask-like face with an anguished expression. Lord Seraphon, the son of the light, he was alive, but on death's doorstep. No way. No way! Void cried out as he and the other sparks approached the Sparkborn, who looked like hell. Lord Seraphon, what happened to you? All of you! Alice asked aloud, as the god with flickering blue eyes looked upon the sparks before him.
Who are you? What has brought you here?
Seraphon asked in a broken tone as Joey reached out and tried to heal him with her light matter, but to no avail. We're sparks. We're here searching for your mother, Matira. Have you seen her? Is she alright? Void questioned the deity, feeling a new sense of bewilderment. Another god, barely alive, surrounded by the corpses of his sister, nephews, and nieces, as well as children. What happened? Void kept questioning within.
Matira,
Seraphon muttered, causing his mechanical face to scrunch into a scowl.
Mother.
He croaked, before slowly levitating upwards to everyone's shock. Whoa,
Easy,
hey,
calm
easy.
down.
Whoa, ready, ease yourself. All the sparks suddenly stuttered, as Seraphon, in a jittery motion, levitated forwards, then crumbled upon the sacred grounds, surrounded by his family.
Mother, you. How could you?
The god groaned as he reached down and pulled a chunk of metal out of his body, a piece of Matira's armor that had been the source of Cogson's tracker, they realized. The signal was coming from that very slab.
How could you do this? How could you slay your own steel and blood?
Seraphon went on, leaving the sparks all standing in a state of confusion. My lord, What are you? Void tried to ask, just as the god whirled his head around with wild eyes and blue blood seeping from the corner of his mouth.
You. All of you. You're the gullible fools she mentioned.
Servant hacked out as he tried to levitate again. What the hell are you talking about? What's going on? Who did this to you? Where's Matira? Sika demanded, causing Seraphine's blue eyes to flash a red glow.
She did this. All of this.
His voice boomed before the blue shade in his soul returned.
She betrayed us. Our code.
Settling down, Seraphine took a seat upon the scattered, scratched, and broken up floor, leaving the others to gently approach. Okay, slow down. Start from the top. What do you mean she did this? Take your time, my lord. Coxon questioned, making Seraphine look up with weakening eyes.
You're the ones she saved after the fall, are you not?
In response, all the sparks except for Void and Joby nodded.
Yes.
Evelyn replied with a cold sweat spilling from her brow.
Tell me, is it true then? She made you build that machine, that doomsday device. Did she not?
Falling to a state of silence, all the sparks eyed Seraphine down as he looked back with disgust. The doomsday device? What are you talking about? The reformatter? Harmony asked her lord, who cringed at the name.
No. No, 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 no.
The god said, while slowly trying to manage his levitation again.
So her remarks were true. Do you have any idea as to what you have built?
The Lord of Light demanded to know, as he glared upon all the sparks. A machine designed by Sabrath. A device to revive. Cor began to explain before being cut off again.
A design that he strictly regretted and forbid to ever create again.
Seraphine bellowed, as his horns bloomed a burning gold.
It's a machine that takes more lives than revives. You have no clue what kind of power you have given her.
Seraphine ranted, causing a wave of conflicted emotions to course through the spark souls. What are you talking about? Did she attack you guys? Doomsday device? What are you trying to say? Void cried out as he and everyone else felt absolutely confused by what they were hearing. Squinting, Seraphine first took in a long breath before doing his best to speak more clearly.
My mother. She was not the same after Salahad's fall. She couldn't live with the fact that her creations, her own life, perished and were scattered across the waves of the eternal stars. She grew obsessed with finding a way to create life again.
Seraphine began as his body gently shimmered a warm pink hue.
She, behind our backs, found you all, without even telling us, forced you to make a machine that is far from the truth you believe.
To his words, Cor slowly stepped forwards and simply asked, What? A lie? From out of Seraphine's eyes, he suddenly displayed a pollinated hologram of the reformatter before explaining on.
This machine was made by my son, Sabarath, a device that could regenerate life, but at the cost of an entire world.
The god explained, as blueprints of the reformatter shooting some kind of beam into a planet appeared before them all, dissolving it into energy.
It was designed to harness planets that could no longer sustain life. But my son grew to realize the deadly mistake he had made. If his craft were to fall into the wrong hands, the reformatter's purpose for replenishing life could be twisted immediately. Any world that has a high M count could be doomed if a crooked soul wished to enact its essence. Essence that comes packaged with life itself.
A collection of heartbeats could almost be heard. That's how silent everyone fell as a horrible truth began to creep its way upon their spines. Wait a second. Are you saying that... Before Void could finish, the image of the blueprints changed to a scene of memory captures, showing Matira approaching the Sparkborns in some kind of argument.
We caught wind of our shared essence blooming on a planet. Conductors designed to power this very device. Upon sensing it, we called our mother forth. We questioned her, demanded of her, until she revealed the truth.
Seraphin said as tears looked to peek their way out the corners of his eyes.
Mother revealed her plans to drain worlds teeming with life in order to save our fallen race. But as you know, we sparks stand against death, dictatorship, the very thing she made us for, the code. Before us all, she proudly announced to betray that honor in order to save us.
Within a flash, the images changed to the Sparkborns engaging Matira into a fight, and to everyone's horror, they watched as the mother of the Sparks took them all out one by one.
We tried to reason, but she threatened us if we were to get in the way. Our own mother, she did this to us, one by one. For all she knew, we would shut down the machine at any moment. She has betrayed us all.
Within an instant, Seraphin suddenly clutched his chest and crumbled to the floor in a state of agonized pain. Lord Seraphin! Void cried out as he quickly caught the god to the best of his abilities, with the others right beside him. No, you can't. That can't be. Kor started, with the others remaining scarily silent.
She gloated about lying to you all, calling you the end of one era that shall bring forth the next. She has deceived you all.
Coughing once more, Seraphin's light began to fade as a new wave of panic washed over everyone. Earth. Is she back on Earth? Alice asked.
Oh my god. We gotta find Talos. And Matira. We have to confront her. We have to confront her with the truth.
Evelyn stammered. Are you kidding? Look around you! He cried out as Void held on to Seraphin's hand. Hey, come on, big guy. Ease up. Stay with us. The blue spark pleaded, but Seraphin was clearly fading fast.
I know it is an impossible task, but please, you must stop her, or at least talk sense into her. That world is in danger. All worlds are in danger.
The Sparkborn weakly pleaded as his eyes fully began to fade out. Lord Seraphin! Void begged as the god gave out one last sentence before fading from his long-lasting life.
Remember, for those we lost, and for those we honor.
Like a candle passing away in the night, Seraphin's holy body was the last to put to rest, joining those of his Sparkborn family that had not survived. No words were shared, no shouts of anger, no cries of dismay, just shock, a burning shock that was cut short by a ping. Raising his arm up with a nervous stare, Cogson opened his map and spoke. Her armor's repaired. She's back in the reformator. And so is Talos. Crunching his hands in the fists, Kor began to burn a glowing hot yellow that got everyone's attention. He looked angry, broken, hurt, something that Void had never really seen before. Kor? He asked.
Sparks, prepare yourselves.
The older Novus ungruffed, leaving Void and the rest feeling uneasy for what their next course of action would most certainly be. Blooming to life back within the reformator, Void and all the other sparks marched their way towards the matter vat, where Talos and Matira herself stood, looking into it, appearing to have been in mid-conversation. "Ah, there you all are. I was beginning to wonder where you all had gone," she greeted with a gentle stare and happy tone as both her and Talos looked upon them all. With bitter faces, the group all stopped before their goddess, to which she appeared visibly confused. "Is something wrong, my dears? You all look rather uneasy," the goddess asked, only to be cut off by a tossing motion from Kor. With a hurl, Matira washed as the orange spark threw a slab of gold, white, and steel metal to her feet. It was a withered off chunk of Seraphin's metallic body, a piece that fell off upon his passing. Surprised by this, Matira looked down at the literal chunk of spark material, her own son's, before hearing Kor speak in a deep and angered tone. "Talk." Slowly looking back up, Matira's face appeared to drop into what looked like a serious manner, while a series of emotions began to climb their way into her brain. "What were you doing in the Soleus?" she asked with the tone of an angered parent, while straightening her back to appear more authoritative. "What'd you have us build? Did you lie to us?" Alice asked as he stepped forwards with a finger point. "What did you make us create? What did you do to your family?" Sika bellowed as she held Joby close to her side. "Don't just stand there, Matira. Speak to us, now!" Void then shouted as he too stepped forwards, burning with bright blue electricity. For a long, intense moment, Matira just stared at the sparks. She knew her cover was blown. She knew that they knew she had done something truly despicable, unfathomable. Wincing with a deep breath, Matira simply clutched her hands and glared down upon them all. "I'm sorry. Truly. But in order to save our kind, there must be sacrifices in the name of the greater good," Matira slowly stated, while turning and placing her hand upon the matter vat. "My fellow Sparkborns wouldn't be able to see eye to eye. But you, all of you, felt the same loss as I. I knew you could," Matira went on, before Harmony stepped forwards with zero chill in her tone. "So you lied to us? You never told us about the planet-destroying aspect to this project, Matira? I don't know if you noticed, but there's people living on this rock. People, may I add, that our friend Void here cares about." With a sharp point, Harmony gestured the Void, who began to step forward some more in an angered manner. You mean to tell me that you allowed for me to go about these last few days, risking my life to find conductors that would destroy my home? Sighing, Matira held silent for a second, trying to figure out what she would say next, but was met with more anger from those below. "I can't believe you. You lied to us. You had us build this weapon, this device, without properly telling us for 15... Kor suddenly halted his words, as a dawning realization hit him. "Years. 15 years. You've been lying to us for over a decade," he muttered in defeat, whilst his horns began to burn in a crimson-orange shine. You! Kor now snarled when Lee shouted out, "Talos! Get away from her! She lied to us! She's gonna use the reformator to destroy this world!" The Bumblebee-looking spark cried, only for Talos to not react at all. After a long moment of silence, the giant spark lowered his brow and spoke with a set of words that halted everyone in place. "So?" he asked.
"So? What do you mean, so?"
Evelyn called out as Matira turned back to face them all, It's one planet. One little planet in an endless sea of life. You'd rather care for something you don't know over your own kind? Talos angrily inquired, with a slight step forwards. Our lost families? He went on, causing an emotional split to hit them all. Talos, you can't be serious. We're sparks, Void tried to say before being cut off again. Nova son, my little ones. I understand your anger. But this world, there are endless copies of it in the grand multiverse. If you so wish, we can bring your family and friends aboard, take you to a replacement Earth. Nobody you care about has to be hurt. There is no need for conflict. The goddess tried to explain, to which only angered Void more. Are you kidding me? So what if there's other Earths? This is still a world filled with billions of people, trillions of dreams, people with lives, people with bright futures. You're willing to kill an entire planet to resurrect our kind? That's not what we do! Void ranted, as all the sparks beside him looked ready to throw hands. It's one world. A rarity with an impossible amount of matter essence. This is our only chance at saving my race. Matira now spoke in a deeper, more angered tone, as she started to scowl upon them all. This world saved me, when my own goddess could not. Void spat back, as electricity began to buzz up and down his limbs. Shut it down, or we will. Keeping her mouth shut, Matira side-eyed Talos, who looked back with a ponderous glare. Turning towards the sparks, the widow began to speak again, louder than ever before. You'd all rather let a bunch of strangers live their mundane lives when we could have the chance to revive our loved ones? He asked, with a point to his comrades. Harmony, your parents. Sika, your father. He listed. What about you, Novasons? Your father? Your mother? He stated, making Void and Core stand side by side in a wave of conflicted rage. My family. Do you have any idea how much I've suffered, longing for their touch, to hear their laughs, to just see their smile again? Talos bellowed in sorrow, making Cogson roll up with worry on his face. Talos, dear boy, are you not hearing yourself right? Listen to your words. The old man pleaded, as the light of the matter vat cast a shadow over Talos, but left a heavenly shine upon Marak. My boy, I understand your pain, but your wife, Titania, and your daughter, Astra? The old spark whispered, as the two were now less than 5 feet apart. Do you truly believe that they would be willing to come back to you if you went through with this? Killing innocents for them? Reaching a hand out, Cogson rested his metal fingers upon the hurting spark, who glared deeply with his remaining purple eye, an eye that seemed to be bouncing back and forth with thoughts. I understand you want them back. Believe me, I had children of my own that were lost. But we can't bring our beloved out of the grave by digging more of them. We would be no different to those that took our families away to begin with. From these words, Talos looked Mr. Cogson square in his old eyes. Eyes that had seen so much through several decades. Eyes that held more truth than he could ever admit. Eyes of a friend. Come on, son. We can figure this out. You're better than this. In response, Talos slowly began to raise his left clawed hand, looking to return the shoulder gesture. The higher he raised it, the more at ease the old spark along with the others felt. Marak's words were powerful. They held true. He was like a grandpa in a way, always smart and always wise. a soul that seemed actually to get through the Talos, who finally spoke after a long moment of silence. "You're a good man, Mr. Coxon." Without brace and without warning, Talos turned his left hand into its canonized weapon and took one clean shot. A purple blast that went right through Marak Cogson's heart. The air felt to suddenly be sucked out of the room, as in what felt to be slow motion. Mr. Cogson violently launched backwards to the group of survivors. His eyes had instantly gone pale white, the color in his body evaporating to a soulless gray within mere seconds. Screams arose from all around, but Void had gone totally numb. Before his very eyes, he just witnessed the greatest sin a spark could commit: murder of another. And Matira ever so faintly smiled. With a loud thunk, Mr. Cogson landed upon the ground. Bolts and spark essence went flying through the air. His glowing panel line shut down within seconds, for he was no longer with them. That sweet old man, the spark who had wished to discuss insects, teach a class, and revive his race, was dealt the hand of death by a trusted ally, a friend. Void and the others couldn't believe it, as Talos stood there without so much as an expression. "But I've waited too long to turn back now," he finished, before slowly looking back up towards his fellow sparks. "What'd you do?" Kor asked, as a series of screams and wails continued to cry out from behind. "What did you do?" He angrily repeated, as the dawning reality that his old friend wasn't even aware of what just happened to himself. "What I had to," Talos replied, when all of a sudden, Matira raised her arm and snapped her fingers. In unison, Void's, Sika's, Lee's, Harmony's, and Evelyn's matter extractors were forcefully opened, with the very power sources being ripped away from their grasps. Lights of red, yellow, orange, pink, and white all swirled forwards towards the goddess, held them all close and floating by her side. "We're so sorry, my dears," she stated, when all of a sudden, Joby was ripped away from Sika's arms, looking as though a poltergeist had just snagged the little girl from a horror film. "Hey!" she wailed, causing all the sparks to rush the duo in a panic. Kor, Sika, and Void of which, most frightful, "Joby!" The older Novason cried with the scream of her true father, watching as she was snagged by the back of her shirt in Matira's hands. "Let me go!" The little one wailed, making Matira snap her fingers, which released a pollen that knocked the little spark out cold. "Shut your mouth," she barked, before flicking a free hand out and sending a gust of dark matter mist to blow everyone back. Flying through the air and landing hard near the VAT station's ledge, all the sparks grunted in pain and distress as they looked up towards their unexpected enemies. "What are you doing with my baby?" Sika wailed with a red pulse in her body as they all watched Matira place the conductors into the matter vat, and then do something unexpected. Raising her hand again, Matira summoned forth several cables and power cords that all suddenly lashed into Joey's unconscious body. One by one, these wires inserted themselves behind the little spark's neck and then around her arms. Moments after, Joey was practically strung up and encased around an upper glass hatch that emerged from the vat's top sector. Matira was connecting her to the machine. "Isn't it obvious? Joby, your daughter, she is the perfect image of how our kind should be. Smart, evolved. Her soul will be the blueprint for the rest. She in and of herself is the most perfect conductor of them all." Matira explained, as Joey was suddenly encased within the glass and emanated with a bright glowing light. As Joby shined at everyone's panicked eyes, the reformatter suddenly began to shake and buzz with chaotic power. In a hard lurch, everyone could feel what was happening. With all of the conductors returned, the massive craft, the gigantic weapon per se, was now taking flight. She was fully repaired, to everyone's horror, functional. "I'll kill you. I'll kill you! Kor bellowed with a burning aura around his body as he attempted to rush both Matira and Talos. But with another telekinetic action, Matira stopped Kor in his tracks and held him mid-stride. Foolish little tool. I truly am sorry, but we have come too far to turn back now, she said while squeezing his metal joints. I'm afraid you are all discharged from duty. Thrusting her dark matter hand forwards, Matira unleashed a shimmering purple pulse that struck all the sparks again, which pushed them over the ledge and down below. Matira! Kor cried, leaving the goddess smiling in place. Talos, man the controls as per standard. It's a 10-hour time frame, correct? Matira asked. Yes, my lady. That needs to charge before extraction commences. Once done, the matter vat will descend down like a hammer to the battery tip, and the extraction shall begin. The yellow spark explained, while keeping his same empty tone. Very well. Also, do be sure to clean up the mess. We could use his essence for extra power. Matira asked while eyeing down Cogson's lifeless body. Meanwhile, I'm gonna make sure they know not to try our might. Reaching her hands down, Matira suddenly opened two glowing red portals, and from them emerged several monstrosities from her homeworld. They were tall, sharp-looking, mechanical, drooling, lanky, spark-looking beasts. Their eyes glinted with tiny red pupils, while sharp teeth clacked alongside talons and claws of gold. Hunt them down. Make sure they don't escape, the goddess asked, sending the creatures forth, and after the sparks, she had played like a fiddle. Down several floors below, the Salvaheim survivors all began to help one another up, as they were left in a state of disbelief. What just happened? Did they really just do that? Lee asked, as Void helped her stand upon 2 feet. She took Joby! Alice bellowed in horrified pain, finding that his right horn had shattered upon impact. They killed Cogson! They killed him! Harmony wailed with visible tears.
What are we gonna do?
Evelyn asked, when from above, they could all see the sight of those monsters descending and flipping along the floor rails, appearing to be making their way right for them. We run! Void shouted in fear, getting everyone up and on their toes. Sprinting together, all the sparks ran as hard as they could, watching as more of the monsters appeared from outer portals at all sides. Oh my god! Shade demons! Alice exclaimed as he deployed his katana alongside Evelyn swinging her tail. In unison, they sliced one of the monsters away from the rail side in a flurry of red, missing matter. What are shade demons? Harmony asked as she leapt upwards and unleashed a powerful wave of music notes to the approaching monsters above. Dark matter entities from the Solis' other half. The Shades. My mother told me stories about them many times when I was younger. Void explained as he ran with Lee's hand wrapped around his own. This can't be happening! This can't be happening! Sega wailed with hicks and sobs as they all descended down a flight of stairs.
Portal traversal systems shut down. Please await further messages.
The reformatter then suddenly exclaimed through a speaker, left them all stunned mid-stride. The hell does that mean? Void asked as another demon appeared in front of them. Heads up! Lee cried as she fluttered up, surged with yellow energy, and spun her tail. From it came a beautiful lemon-colored energy slash that took the demon's head clean off within an instant. The reformatter is wired to our essence. Seems like they're trying to keep us here. We won't be able to activate an escape portal. We gotta find another way out. Kor shouted until he realized where they could go. There's escape pods in the lower sector of the ship. Follow me! Taking charge, the older spark began to lead everyone down many paths. They ran across bridges, stairs, and the like, fighting off monsters as they did so. No one could understand the change, the betrayal. They'd all been lied to by someone they trusted. Someone who asked them for her trust. Made them all sick. Now Joby was in danger. They wanted to save her. They wanted nothing more than the terror out of that machine. They needed a plan. If Matira could take out her fellow gods, her children, what fighting chance did they have? To say the least, Void had not felt this kind of panic in a long time. Bursting through a door and into a hangar bay, the Sparks all set their eyes upon a slim, alien-looking craft. Before it was a force field barrier that overlooked what everyone quickly realized to be Earth. They had breached the atmosphere already and were rising fast. Below, the planet looked majestic and peaceful, a true beauty that within several hours could be gone. "Come on!" Cor cried as one by one they got into the craft, one no different to the escape ship they left Salvaheim with. As the door snapped shut, the dark matter demons clawed and teared at the craft as all the Sparks inside prepared for launch. It felt too similar to most of the survivors, being hunted down by the unknown, tears welling in their eyes. It was awful. Truly awful. "Here we go!" Cor cried out as he at last hit launch. Activating the life in a purple flaming glow, the ship's back thrusters came to life, which sent them all blasting out of the reformatter. Behind, they could all hear the monster scream. It pained everyone knowing they had just left Joby, but they needed a plan. They needed to figure out what to do, to collect their minds, and simply catch a breath. For all of Earth, all of its life and inhabitants, they were now resting upon the Spark's shoulders. "Nox Workshop! Go the Nox!" Void cried with a point, to which Cor nodded and set course, all the while trying not to break down in anguished sobs.